Hey everybody, and welcome to Fleet Nav Systems Friday live stream for admins. Although the live stream is typically just for admins, I feel like everybody who's a part of our channel could probably might enjoy this. I might be biased. Today I've got a bit of a cool thing here for you. Me and the founder of Fleet Nav Systems, Jake Jorns, we're going to be just answering some questions for you guys about Geotab's reseller network, Fleet Nav Systems, so a little bit of the more in-house stuff that we don't usually talk about. I believe I have Jake on the line. Jake, are you there?
I am Joy. How are you today?
Doing well. Good to have you on, Jake. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, anytime. So what we're going to do, guys, just the usual stuff. If you are new to the channel, or if you're new to any of this kind of stuff, we're going to be taking live Q&A. So if you have any questions for me or Jake, take advantage of the fact that you've got us both on the show today. If you are watching this after the fact and you've got any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments down below the video. And if you're new and you're not subscribed, why aren't you? If you subscribe and hit that notification bell, you can get the updates whenever we go live and have special guests on our show. Today we have Jake, and Tuesday we had Trooper Hoover for a second time answering ELD questions and hours of service. So that's it for our typical plug here, guys. I want to jump into the questions with Jake because don't want to miss out on the opportunity we have here. So, Jake, like I said, thanks for being here. Let's kind of get into this. I get this question a lot when I'm talking with customers, prospective customers, or even random people when I'm on the Fleet Nav YouTube channel. I've had people ask, what is Fleet Nav Systems? How does this work with the whole Geotab thing? And I was thinking kind of the way that we might jump into this is kind of just getting into a little bit about Geotab's reseller network. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what that is and how that works?
Sure. I'll kind of start with Geotab. Geotab was founded in 2000, I believe. Neil moved over from South Africa to Toronto, Canada, and started Geotab in Toronto, Canada, back in there. I think it was early 2000. He began with what they call the Go 1, the Go 2, and Go 3, and obviously Generation Go 4, and all the way up to Generation Go 9++, which we are at today. Some might call the Go 10. But back then, Neil started up Geotab then, and took a different approach to the traditional sense in how a company would purvey their product to the masses. I guess is a good way to put it. The typical corporate structure is usually you have a corporate entity that sells the hardware, the software, the support services, and everything from one corporate entity underneath one umbrella. Geotab and Neil took it a little bit differently in the approach that they wanted to build and develop their own product, and they were going to use a reseller network channel to sell their hardware, software, applications, and so forth like that. So with that being said, Geotab was it was one of the many providers out there: Verizon, Omnitrax, PeopleNet, the whole host of the telematics groupings and so forth like that provided that same level of tracking and engine data and accelerometer data and so forth like that. Was very attractive to me back in 2011, 2012 when we got together with my co-founder, Thane Dormeyer, and I got together and we said, this is a great product. It's not a public business. It's a private company. It's still private to this day. And, they were very focused on development and in being innovative. That was very attractive for us, and being able to have that. And then having that reseller network, which is different than the traditional sense, offered an opportunity for us to run our company the way we wanted to. The Geotab corporate setup right now comprises of themselves about 400 different resellers across the globe, and that's across the globe. There's, I believe there's Joy 8, maybe 9 different headquarters across the globe.
That sounds
That
about right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say across the globe, you mean it. I mean, I don't think the reseller itself is located in the in Antarctica, but I know they've got a unit down there on all the 7 continents. So they really
And
are
I
global
believe
when they
they're the
say it.
only one.
Yep.
That's correct. I believe Geotab is the only one that actually can say they have a telematics device on all continents. So
Yep.
yes, you are absolutely right. There is one on the Antarctica also. So yeah, so that was that was kind of the approach we took there. We liked the idea of how Geotab developed their product, the way they displayed the product, and so forth like that. We also like the idea that it was open end on the back end. What I mean by that is it was very important, and years ago, where a lot of the traditional telematics companies basically held their data tight to themselves. They didn't allow other third-party integrators or different software systems or different companies to build into or pull information out of their specific software. And we thought that was another key attribute to Geotab, where we were able to, we had the ability to go in and pull that information off the back end of the server, and then build that and integrate it into different systems and stuff. And that was very interesting for us, and we've definitely taken that over the years to a development level where we custom develop now right into Geotab or out of Geotab, if you will, and providing that next level of service and support and the acquisitions of different pieces of data that allows them to enhance their software systems, whether it's an accounting program or it's a dispatching program or a routing program, right? So that continues to grow and be more attractive to companies out there now that are looking to, maybe looking at a different telematics device or a different ELD solution and so forth like that. That was one of the things that really brought us to where we were today.
Sure, yeah, and I think, like, kind of to go along with that, my understanding of why Geotab did that in the first place was that they were like, we're a telematics company, we're going to do telematics better than anybody else, but we're not a maintenance management company. So there are better companies out there that do maintenance management, so we're going to let those companies do what they do, but we're going to make a way for them to be able to add their software directly to ours so that it all works as one cohesive bundle, but you're getting like the best of both worlds. Like the company that really specializes in just the telematics stuff, and then you've got that other company that does, maintenance management or routing and dispatching or anything else, right?
Absolutely right. That's a great way to frame it. Which is conversely, different from the other corporate structures that held everything close and developed their own systems that they thought were appropriate for a particular company. Geotab took a different approach. They opened up the back end and allowed the professionals to build in and build out of it so that they could get exactly what they wanted and not something that somebody else thought they needed.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the thing that I've started to see a lot more of is that because Geotab is a fully open platform, and their idea always has been, the data is the customers, let the customer do what they want with that. I've had a lot of more customers that I've spoken with recently who have been really impressed with the fact that they have all those open APIs. So if the customer has a piece of software that they've already been using for years and it doesn't have a Geotab integration, they can get their own development team or that software's development team to reach out to Geotab, and they can build those integrations themselves so that they don't have to change to a Geotab specific whatever the platform happens to be.
Nope, that's absolutely right, and that's one of the great features of Geotab and how they manage, develop their data, manage their data, and then distribute it too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's one of the nice factors there.
I think before we move on from the reseller stuff, Jake, I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of talking about how it exists. One of the things I want to clarify, and feel free to jump in here if you have anything else to add, is that your resellers throughout that Geotab network, they're going to be completely different from one another. Sometimes, I mean, we can talk depending on the reseller and stuff, but the support that you receive, the training you receive, the service that you receive from them, it can be completely different from one reseller to another. So if you're working with Fleet Nav Systems, we may have a completely different, we may have a completely different method of support than another reseller that is located roughly in the same area as us. Nothing guarantees that we might offer services that they don't, and they might offer services that we don't. But like Fleet Nav, we can support our own customers, but we're blind to the Geotab customers who are working with some other reseller. We don't have that visibility. Is that a good way to put it, Jake?
No, that's a great point, Joey. That's exactly right. There's a wide disparity amongst the 400 resellers underneath the Geotab umbrella. There is a wide disparity of different approaches, if you will, that they take to sell, service, and support their product of Geotab, right? You might, and then there's a wide variety of companies out there. You could have companies selling 4 up to 5, maybe even 6 different telematics solutions underneath their umbrella, whereas Geotab is just one of many. You have other resellers that might be a software company, but the Geotab component that they want to integrate into their system, they feel they want to be a part of that reseller aspect and have that control and that visibility and that ability to manage that data, and so they become a reseller. So there's a lot of different attributes that go into what, who, and when could be. I mean, AT&T is a reseller, if you will. They have their own, obviously, network that they build their own system into. They white label their own, I believe they white label their own hardware and so forth like that. So there's just a wide variety of resellers out there. They all take different approaches and so forth like that. Now, Fleet Nav, we've taken a different approach. We want to have that connection with our customers that they know they can call us. They're going to have, if they call us, they're going to talk to a real person. They're not going to talk to somebody from another country. They're not going to be put on hold. They won't have to leave a message, or if they do leave a message, they get a call back almost, within the hour, if you will. That would be the longest.
As soon as we can get back to them, for sure.
Right, and tickets are usually handled and managed in real time. I mean, within minutes, up to not less than 30 minutes, where you're actually going to get a real acknowledgement from a real person at Fleet Nav Systems. And I always like to kind of frame Fleet Nav as the end-to-end solution for telematics and ELD support. We provide the hardware, the software, the applications, the connectivity, the cloud services, everything that a customer would need to include the ELD compliance solution, but then also the support that stands behind it. We have people that are specifically specialized in ELD logs. We have people that specialize in troubleshooting. We have people that specialize in reports. And those are all, each one of those properties are very, very important to the way everything runs, and then having that collaborative aspect that people talk together, because sometimes reports runs into troubleshooting, or troubleshooting runs into ELD. I mean, there's a lot of factors involved in that. It's very important that we have that collaborative aspect to the support, so that the customer is not getting a response from one person, but then it might be tied to another, and they would get a response from another person. It works really well where everybody collaborates on tickets, and we get to the end game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and I'm not, I'll put this disclaimer out there. I'm not saying this just because I have my boss on the show today, guys. But I love the work that we get to do at Fleet Nav, just because, it is so collaborative. Like, if I have an issue or I have a question, I can take that to anybody else on my team, or you've gotten plenty of calls from me when I'm like, all right, Jake, I'm stumped on this. Like, where do I go from here? And you've done the same to me. And I think it's really great, because I think that helps keep that turnaround time much shorter. At least that's the feedback I've gotten from our customers, and even other people that we've been able to help along the way. So that's pretty cool.
That's no doubt. You're absolutely correct. And I'm guilty of it myself. I literally just yesterday brought every member of the team in to collaborate on a specific issue, and just wanted to make sure, because sometimes my eyes don't see what other people's eyes see, and it's very helpful to have other people take a look at it and bring up those other things that you might not see, and it just helps. It helps in the collaborative approach to see that there's any other potential issues that might be applied to that particular problem, but then it also helps that if something comes up elsewhere, whether it's in reports or troubleshooting, they say, ooh, that we can tie that back to that. So that's where that kind of networking aspect kind of provides us that deeper look and that more efficient process of getting to that end result, which is obviously fixing the customer's problem.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings up the fact too that, like I love it when I'm collaborating with people, because I've had people bring stuff to me and like, okay, Joy, help me with this, and in working out the problem with them, I get a better understanding of it too, and I think that's pretty cool. But like at Fleet Nav, we are taking kind of the same approach that Geotab's taken, with that stance that, okay, we're a telematics company, we're going to be as good at telematics as humanly possible, and that's it. And then we'll let these other companies that are experts in their fields take care of their stuff. And we've kind of taken that approach in that we're not also selling OmniTrax or PeopleNet or anything else. We're solely focused on Geotab, and I think that really has also kind of helped us to stand out a little bit in the Geotab field, just because that's what we do 24, not 24/7, but at least 40 hours a week. We're studying this.
So, yeah.
Well, you're 24/7, but yeah, but we've got that, I've been doing this now for 5 years, 40 hours a week. Like, I know Geotab I'm pretty comfortable saying I know it backwards and forwards. And I think it's just interesting, because if you were working with other platforms, it would be a lot harder to get to that level of just comprehension and that deeper understanding where you can just kind of help troubleshoot things better and stuff, I think that's the way it is with a lot of our team.
Truly, you're absolutely correct. And, when you're dealing with multiple different platforms and stuff, there's a lot of times where, data can be commingled, or, tickets get commingled, and it's just a difficult process there. So, yeah, we are Geotab. That's all we do is Geotab, and that's what we strive to be the best at. Yeah.
I can't even, to anybody out there who does work with multiple systems, more power to you. I can't even imagine. I imagine I'd be lost in 2 seconds. All right. Well, Jake, we've got Christina Jones is on the show today. She was wondering where we're headquartered. I'll field that one. We're headquartered in Holland, Michigan. If you check out our Google business page, you can see that we're headquartered in Holland, Michigan. And if any of you guys have actually gotten support from us or any help from this and would like to leave us a nice review on that Google business page, I would personally appreciate it. But yeah, headquartered in Holland, Michigan. Great question. Thanks, Christina. I guess we can just briefly, if anybody's curious, if you are a customer or a prospective customer, our phone hours for support and stuff right now are about, for normal support, we're typically 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, and then we do have 24/7 support for emergencies, and sometimes you can catch us for normal support, I would say a little bit before and after, but officially 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. So,
correct.
Yep.
And just to expand on Christina's question there,
yeah.
Troy, we are headquartered in Michigan, but we do not have any restrictions as a Geotab reseller, authorized reseller. We can sell units all across North America. We've been in Africa and Mexico and South America, so there's no restriction to authorized resellership. So we sell from coast to coast, and we support from coast to coast in all time frames and so forth like that. So just wanted to clarify there.
Cool. Nick and Croce's on the show today. He says Fleet Nav is the best. Thanks for that, Nick.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Nick. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So Jake, just a little bit of background. just because, well, I know a little bit of it, but I'm curious. Like, how long has Fleet Nav been in business? I know you said some stuff. The going back. Well, before we I'll get to that. But first, we did have one pop in here. I'd love to answer this because I don't know how long Nick will be on. Do you have any international customers? You want to take that one, Jake?
Yeah, so what we do is we do have international customers where it's solely to the mining aspect. The mining pretty much spans the globe. We've assisted in Africa with a tracking system, but that's it's a little bit more complicated than that. Where we tie the Go unit has a great integration with the Iridium satellite network, and how that kind of differs is the general satellite network that's used to geolocate vehicles on terrestrial Earth is basically a 24 constellation satellite array that some geosynchronous, some not, that basically triangulate your position and then make up the curvature of the Earth with the make up through towers and so forth like that. And that's the general GPS array that is used for just about all location services that are used today. The Iridium network is a little bit different. They have a 66 satellite array that stands up there that provides us 100% coverage across the globe, whether you're on water, land, sea, whatever. That provides us to 100%. Then we have integration pieces built into that for like man down, panic buttons, and so forth like that. Where if it's a snowmobile up in the north of Saskatchewan and they get stuck and they're out in the middle of nowhere, they can hit a button that notifies the U.S. and then they call the base camp and send out assistance and so forth like that. So that's kind of the higher level look at of what we do for our customers that are international.
Yeah. So a little bit of a different one. We're not doing any ELD troubleshooting with our international customers.
No, not on snowmobiles and side-by-sides and 4x4s, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So just a little bit here. If I don't know, you can go into this as much as you want, or we could be brief. Just like I know you mentioned Fleet Nav kind of starting around 2012, 2011. So how long have we been in business? And if you would like to get into a little bit of that origin story, feel free to throw out as much of that as as you want on air, Jake.
Right. So yeah, we've been in business approximately 8 years. In 2012, Thane and I put Fleet Nav together, and like I said, we started out with the Go 4. And the Go 4 was pretty much called the Medusa of the telematics community, as it had probably 8 different wires attached to this little small box. And back then, when you were to consume different pieces of data, converse the way it was today, you had to tie a wire to anything that you wanted to monitor on a vehicle. So there was quite a bit of an extensive installation process with the Go 4. It was a pretty unique system. It was definitely cutting edge back then. But you look at it today where we're in Go 9 and you literally just plug in and everything is digital and pulls off the engine computer, and everything we do today is just amazing how far Geotab has come over the years, so but more importantly, I guess historically, basically started in software when I worked for the Department of Corrections for the state of Michigan, and I started with just a laptop and a piece of software for a positioning program that I worked with my team that I worked with there for search and recovery. And I basically took that piece of software, developed it into a platform that allowed us to deploy out to assist local communities in search and recovery efforts, whether it was for a dementia patient that walked away, somebody missing in the woods, or what have you. That basically pushed into micro trackers and so forth like that. And then Geotab came along in 2011, and we took a look at that, and that's when we basically, we ran for about a couple of years there, and this little Android application came up. Geotab asked for people to jump on, and I jumped into it, and it was probably 14, about 2014, and they were saying, well, this is an ELD solution. for an Android platform. We think this is where this is going to go, and the federal government might pass some legislation regarding the electronic logs and transitioning from paper. And so I jumped on it. So we were kind of 3 years ahead of the curve when ELD actually became a true statement at the end of 17. Obviously, with that, we were pretty well fluent in the application, how it was going to interact with the Geotab unit and how ELD was working and so forth like that, which brought us into another area of national lease that posed some problems with the current ELD standard in 2017, posed problems with rental and lease. And it was presented to us that these are the problems that we have. These are the problems that we anticipate. This is what we're looking for. And that was kind of the development arm of Fleet Nav Systems began, where we basically started up a development arm that allowed us to specifically build particular software that was fixing a pain point for potential customers. And that's where we started there. And that's actually pushed into other areas and so forth like that we continue today to build out on the development arm of Fleet Nav Systems. So
yeah, and if anybody's
kind of a high level view.
If anybody's interested in that software, I just did last week. I did a brief overview of DualShare. That's that main software we got developed for the rental and leasing industry. The demo itself had a couple of snags in there, but you should be able to at least get a good idea of at least what it does and what it looks like. So if you're interested, take a look. If I think about it after the live stream, I'll throw in a little card up above so you guys can find that. I also, Jake, for anybody looking, I think we've got a treat for them. I've done a Google search, and I think we can show the Medusa, the Go 4. So.
Yes. If somebody's watching, they can see the Medusa.
Yep, it's aptly named, guys. There it is. That's pretty crazy there. But there you go. So cool stuff. It looks like Geotab Africa's got that's a big piece of equipment there. Much different from these teeny tiny little Go units we have now. So
shipping was expensive back then too. To ship all that wire to people, it was horrible.
I bet, and gas was more expensive back then too, so I imagine that didn't help with the shipping prices.
I tell you, that's a great attribute to Geotab, and right there, that depiction that you have up there shows just how focused Geotab has been on development of their product, right, and being able to stay a step ahead and stay current with everything that's going on and so forth. So that's what really sets Geotab aside from a lot of companies, whether they're a corporate entity and they're privately owned or they're publicly owned. That Geotab has always prided themselves in being a private company, but always being focused on development and implementation of different processes and stuff. Of course, with the expanded port on the side, that just opens that unit up to a whole host of different opportunities and so forth that obviously could spend another hour on. But
yeah.
Goes, again, to show you the difference between what Geotab does and how the other companies operate.
Yeah, I'll have to throw that on my agenda here, Jake, to do an IOX output. Or the IOX aux, or all the IOX ports, all the different features that are available, because that's something I get to deal with here, as you know, and that one's a fun one because there are so many possibilities. I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff that people have done, and it's cool. Like, the stuff that people can do on there, it's very cool. So definitely we'll have to get that on here. So we've already covered our customers and stuff. I guess something else I'd like to briefly get into is just, or rather, we already kind of touched on it, but some of the other stuff that we do here at Fleet Nav for our customers specifically, and you've probably seen some of this if you've been watching our channel for a while, because we'll put some of that on here too, is we do because we're in the system so much, we do custom reporting for our customers, and that's something I think, Jake, that I haven't come across a whole lot of other resellers who are doing that kind of, at least to that depth that we do. We'll pretty much, if our customers want to report and we can build it, we do, and if they want to report and we can't build it because it's outside of the scope of the our normal possibilities, we also have that development arm that can also take care of those custom ones too. I think that's kind of a neat thing that we do here.
Yep, I agree with you there, Joy. And that's where we kind of isolated a specific aspect of Geotab where, the customers, a lot of customers are really focused now, especially now, on reporting and be able to combine data and bring the specific data they need in for a specific reason, right? Whether it's fuel or it's mileage and odometer and IFTA and so forth like that. There's a lot, that Geotab does, but then there's a lot that can be done through the integration of data into specific reports and integrating that information and present it to the customer that it's useful, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important that we have a conversation with the customer that we try to understand exactly what they're trying to get and not something that Joy thinks they need to get.
Yes.
Right? And that's where that's kind of the difference there, right? So that's where I think we really kind of stand out and really exceed is that, most resellers probably don't even do reporting or offer reporting, but we have two people that are specific and professional and are very, very good at what they do, and that's definitely a distinguishing factor with Fleet Nav versus most other resellers that we provide that level of support.
Yeah, and I know, like, even just today, I had a customer who wanted something, and they requested a report, and I waited until I called them a couple of times until I got them on the phone, because I was like, I know what you're asking me for, but I need to understand the end goal of what you're actually trying to do to make sure that the report I get you isn't just, like, the bare minimum of what you're asking me for. I want it to actually, like, kind of what you said, that data presentation. It has to be in such a way that it gives them what they're actually looking for, not what they kind of vaguely think they're looking for. So after a number of questions, we were able to kind of drill down so that I could make that visualization for them just that much more valuable. I mean, I can do something where it's just rows on a spreadsheet that they can download or have emailed to them, but if we can give them, especially I like to make sure my Excel skills are up to date, but if I can give somebody a quick visual on the dashboard as well, just so that they can see, okay, these are my top 5 drivers in this category. If it's a safety thing, I want to point out just real quickly when they're looking at this, all right, these are my top 5. These are the ones who are most critical that I address this week. And then once they address that, those drivers kind of go down that list. So you can then address the next 5 critical and things like that. And I think that kind of helps, just being able to visualize that real quick and use the data in such a way that it's like you have so much data. I think that's probably the most underutilized part of the Geotab system, is just that being able to present it in such a way that it's useful.
No, you're absolutely right. Data is very key, and looking forward, for the telematics aspect of technology and so forth, data is going to be huge. It's almost going to be primary to almost anything else out there. And again, Geotab's at the forefront. We have that big data application that allows customers to benchmark specific items that are important to them, taking it right down to the granular level, in that they're able to identify how many parking spots are at this particular Love's in Dallas, Texas, so that the driver is not wasting his clock and his time traveling around different parking lots trying to find a place to park.
Sure.
Just one of the things there. Another thing that we're trying to do with the big data, which is really key, is predictive maintenance. That's a huge opportunity.
I'm excited about that one.
Absolutely. Where you can predict the failure of a battery 2 to 3 weeks prior to the actual failure, based on diagnostics and levels of data that you're pulling in, and then being able to predict that and have that battery exchanged before it breaks down on the side of the road. And now you're looking at a $2,700 bill, and you're looking at downtime, and you have to get a new rental truck or a sub truck. It's just endless how much money just that little piece of information, based on a big data lake, and pulling that information, and the Google Analytics involved with extracting that information and delivering that again to the customer so that it's usable. And that's where I think it's key, and that's where I just absolutely love how Geotab performs in those areas.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a third party integrator. It's not Geotab specifically, but they use that Geotab data. And I think they said, and don't quote me on any of this, but I'm pretty sure they had mentioned something like that they were able to catch like a derate condition on a truck like 11 days before the engine light went on average or something. I feel
Yeah,
like that's going to
that's the
be the
kind of
future of.
technology that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Data is going to be a number one. That's where it's going to be at. That's what everybody's going to be after, because that's going to give you that predictive maintenance, that predictive um, aspect to the truck that's just going to save just insurmountable amount of money for a particular truck, an owner of a truck, or even the rental and lease of a truck, being able to manage the mileage to ensure that the mileage is staying within spec, and ensuring that the truck is being utilized correctly, and just a lot of factors in that big data aspect, and it's really at its infancy right now. So it's real exciting to see how that's going to grow. Just as we've seen the Go 4 go to Go 9, it's going to be really cool to see how big data really integrates itself into telematics in the years to come.
Yeah, it's been amazing just to see that evolution that Geotab's had in their technology, because I got in 5 years ago when we were on the Go 6. And just like the Go 7 was just a brand new thing they were starting to talk about. And it's been really cool just to see, and then we had all the ELD stuff. So I was in, what, a year and a half before we even started, 2 years before we even started looking at ELDs. And just seeing how all of that's evolved over the years, and then like this big data platform, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next around the corner with that.
It's even amazing if you think back to that far, Joy, how we started out like Goal 6, Goal 7 when Geotab really took off. They were at 150, 180,000 units, and now we're well over 2 million units, not even a few generations on. And then just the server aspect of it, remember, I think we had less than 100 servers back then.
We
right?
did.
Now we have well over 1,000.
Yep.
So that just goes to show you the immense growth that Geotab has had, and being able to build that solution and manage that data and keep the connectivity up. It's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's definitely been like exponential over the last few years, because I think it was when we were all at the Geotab Connect conference in June of 2018 that they had just announced their big announcement there. One of them was that they finally hit 1 million subscribers, 1 million devices with telematics units, and then a couple of us were at Geotab Connect this year in January, and their big announcement then was 2 million. So the fact that between the year 2000 and 2018 they got their first million, and then within 18 months they had another million, I was very impressed. That was cool to watch.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So apart from that, I've got kind of just some more. I think we're getting close to the end here. I've got a couple of things that I'm curious to ask you here, Jake. And again, if anybody watching this has a question for me or Jake, please put that in. Love to get some stuff that we can ask Jake while we got him here. But is there, first of all, what's, in your opinion, the best part of working at Fleet Nav Systems? Like, what's your favorite part?
Boy, there's a lot of factors.
Besides your amazing employees that you love to work with every day.
Well, that was going to be my first choice, to be able to work with the team. The team aspect of it is what's really cool. Just to have that ability to provide, the service, that extends beyond what most have. And, really having the ability to be where we're at today, and the innovation and seeing what's moving forward. And there's always something different. And sometimes you're busy, but then other times you're just busier than that. And, I don't know. It has a lot of variables to that script there. Wow. Yeah, but I don't know. It's great to, I guess overall, the satisfaction, is a good way to put it, is that, we built this from the ground up. We started from scratch, and we built this all the way along, and just we kept we built the standard. We try to keep to that standard. We try to treat people right, and that doesn't even go for the team, but it goes for our customers, and it extends beyond customers of our customers, right? So we have customers of our customers that we support, and that's what's really satisfying there, is that we're able to provide a level of support that is, a lot of people might say, is ancient. It just doesn't happen anymore. You have, everything is automated, everything is computer generated, and just having that connection where you call somebody and you're talking to that person, or you're talking to real people and so forth like that. That's an accomplishment that I know I can speak for Thane on this. That we've built this up to a point where it's the service that really is a number one for us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've talked with people who are like, well, even just this week, I actually had somebody call me that was a recommendation off of somebody that they had heard from YouTube, not even on our channel. And they said, "This is amazing. I've never gotten a hold of somebody this easily." And I think that kind of speaks. It wasn't even one of our customers. It was just somebody who's a driver who had a question, and I happened to be available to take his call, and he was really happy. He was like, "I've tried to reach out to other people with questions like this and couldn't get a hold of anybody." So the fact that, like, me, who's not even a customer, can call it. Please, if you aren't a customer, please at least consider becoming a customer if you try and call us. But it was really neat, just because just that kind of feedback, and we get stuff like that from our actual customers all the time. We get people like, "Well, this is amazing. We've never gotten support like this. We can actually call and talk to a human being," and I think that does make a big difference.
Right, and then that extends too beyond the PLD being the primary component here at Fleet Nav, but that also extends not only to the admin side, for everybody in the office and right up to ownership, but it also extends all the way down to the driver that's in the truck is trying to deal with a specific problem, whether it's part of the application, the tablet, the device, the connection, or something like that. We provide that level of service all the way through. So. I think that's a key component there, where we just don't stop at admin, or we just don't stop at a driver. We provide that entire end-to-end solution for Geotab to our customers.
Yeah, and I think some of my best feedback I've ever gotten for any of the support stuff that I've done personally was from drivers, because they're the ones using the ELD stuff all the time. So yeah, sometimes it's kind of neat just to get to talk to these guys who are actually using the product for their day-to-day work, and they'll tell me, I love this part, or this part I don't like. It's it's cool that we can talk to them and get their feedback too, because like I'm in touch with, and you're in touch with people at Geotab, and we can bring it to the right people. And I know several of our customers have recommended things or made comments that Geotab has taken and used to improve the product all the way around.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And that again, when somebody poses an issue or a problem or a painful point, there again is where we kind of excel, right? We have that development arm that that we can have that architecture, we can get that proof of concept, and we can get that built for them, so that they no longer have that problem, whether it's a malfunction that reports to the fleet supervisor or whatever it might be. We can always take that data, manage and manipulate that data, so that we can provide a valuable solution to the customer that may extend outside the basic foundation of what Geotab provides.
Definitely. Yeah, Christina is on. She says she hates those automated junk ones where she can't talk to a human without holding for minutes. Well, Christina, just to give you a little bit on ours, if we are all taken up and nobody can answer, I think the setting that I have for our phone system currently is I don't think you'll be waiting for more than like a minute and a half before, if we're all busy, it'll send you to voicemail. And the way we have it set up is the entire team gets an email if you call and we miss the call. So that means, even if everybody's tied up in meetings for an hour or something, as soon as we get out and we're available to call you back, we can do that immediately. And obviously we've got enough people getting that email that somebody will reach out as soon as possibly available. So kind of cool. I like that, the way we've got that set up. And yeah, if you call, it's not a whole lot of menus. I have one menu. It's very short, and I find that very aggravating too. And I tried to call. I don't know if I told you about this, Jake. I tried to call the DOT or the FMCSA, some of the field offices, when COVID hit, because I was trying to find like their recommendations for how to manage the ELD stuff, because it was before they had actually put out the exemption recommendations, and I spent probably 10 minutes trying to work my way through automated menus, and the one I just gave up on because it was a lot. The other one I
We
eventually
almost wonder
heard
if
back.
there was an override button for all of it, you know?
Yeah, well, I usually try when I call places and I get an automated message. I usually try to hit 0, or if it's voice, just yell at it. I want to talk to somebody, and then usually get sent right through. But but what's like, I can't even imagine any. I mean, we've all dealt with it, the tech support stuff, when you're already frustrated because something's broken, and then you have to work your way through a menu of automated stuff. Like, that's the last thing. That's the last thing I want to do. Jake, I've got one in particular that I know we've gotten questions on a couple of times. We've had customers ask if there are any specific industries that Fleet Nav like specializes in. What would you say about that?
I would have to say, initially, I have to say rental and lease.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our biggest tie right now. That's the biggest part of our development arm, where we're providing specific solutions to specific problems and needs for particular customers in that industry. We really kind of handle the whole aspect of it. We do integrate, obviously, our software into other software that actually manages functions for the rental and lease market. So, we're tied in on kind of both ends. We kind of met in the middle, and we solved several problems that were obviously brought to that industry for reasons of ELD being implemented back in 2017, and we've provided several solutions that facilitate the smooth running and eliminate all the problems that were incurred there. So I'd have to say that's probably our biggest one there.
I would agree, yeah. And I guess just to add to that, so nobody's confused, we don't only service the rental and leasing industry. I mean, we've got customers with 1 or 2 vehicles, all the way up to much larger customers. So
yeah, that's a wide dynamic.
It's very
that's, like I said, that's probably the largest part of it. But yeah, we have the guy with the lawn maintenance care who's got 1 unit, to the right up to your owner operators that just need an ELD solution, right? So. It ranges from one to whatever. So,
yeah,
but that's one part of our industry there, is providing that ELD solution. ELD is a big part of what we do. That's what we specialize in, and then of course our support with, all the reports and all that support that stands behind the entire Geotab solution.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a neat thing, is when we're working with our different customers, like somebody with 1 truck is going to have totally different needs than somebody who's in a mining industry or working with ELDs, and so it's always fun to get into those different the different customers' things and set things up properly so they have exactly what they need. So
yeah,
cool
it's very dynamic and very diverse. From ELD to satellites to iridium satellites to man down to buttons on snowmobiles or panic buttons on machines, and specifically even to the fact where if you have a fleet of machines out on, say, a particular area, and there's specific people can only drive specific vehicles, that's where, again, I see Geotab with their expansion port and having that particular portion where, we can isolate all those different types of needs.
Sure, yeah. So if you had to pick one feature in Geotab that is just far and above, or maybe it's close to another one, but a favorite feature in Geotab, Jake, what would you say is your favorite piece of the software?
Active tracking, the 4-second latency to the screen, where we connect directly from the server to the Geotab unit on the SIM card on board the Geotab unit. That gives us that direct immediate feed to see the turn by turns on real time and immediate motion on the screen. I think that's definitely one of my most favorite ones to see that.
Cool.
That feature.
I like that one too. It's neat when you can like zoom in on a truck and watch it like come to a stop at a stop sign and then get back to going, or merge onto a highway or something. It's pretty neat. All right, cool. Well, Jake, we're almost done here. Mark at Trucking Answers is always, when he's telling people about our show, he tells them that we have a lightning round at the end where we answer any questions. So I have some lightning round questions for you, and these are more just something fun to close out here with, unless we get anything else from our audience. So it's a little bit of trivia, a little bit of opinion. Are you ready for this one, Jake?
I'll do my best.
All right, cool. The first question is actually a reference from our interview with Trooper Hoover this week. Do you happen to know the capital of West Virginia?
Charleston, I believe.
Yes.
Been there.
Well
yes,
done.
Going in there, yes.
I-
Been there.
I have 3 capitals of the United States I can never get. Charleston and Columbia, South Carolina. I always get confused, and then sometimes Raleigh gets thrown in there with North Carolina because, Carolinas. So, well done.
Sure,
You already did better than I did on Tuesday.
Oh, very good, very good.
What is, in your opinion, the best food to buy at a truck stop?
White Castle burgers.
All right, there you go. All right, this is a very important question, Jake. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Well done. And finally, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Awesome. Well, Jake, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I think we've been able to answer some questions for people and hopefully clear up a little bit just about what Fleet Nav actually is and how we fit in with the Geotab stuff. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners? Any words of advice or anything else as we head out here?
Nope. I thank you for what you do. I thank you for what the team does at Fleet Nav. And, for anybody out there that's interested, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to have a discussion with you. And, again, thank you for having me today, more importantly.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. Take care, and we'll talk to, for anybody else who's watching still or who's actually finished watching the show or followed us this long. We do this every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Either I'll give a little spiel on some aspect of the MyGeotab software, or we get people on here to try and give you guys just some more resources and more feel for what's going on here. If any of you are interested in joining us, sometimes I do live call-in shows, so you can call in and ask your questions live, or we've always got that chat there. We also do a live show at 3 p.m. Eastern for truck drivers, where we cover the Geotab Drive app every Tuesday. So if any of that sounds good to you, sometimes we get Trooper Hoover on here to answer some hours of service and ELD questions from an actual inspections officer, and we're looking at getting other things on the program. So if there's anything you'd like to see us cover in the future, reach out. You can catch us at that live stream at fleetnavsystems.com. We are happy to take any suggestions that you have. All those come to me directly. And once again, Jake, thank you for being on the show. For everybody watching, thank you for actually tuning in and watching. That's really cool. And we will see you either Tuesday next week or Friday. Thanks very much, and take care.